in the team is I'm a research assistant to assist with administrative staff for the team, and I'm a student from UL5. So, and I will be announcing the winner of the door prize throughout today's 2-hour session. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome, great. Oh, it looks like we had a little technical glitch. Now we're live.
Those were practice introductions.
Yeah, we did some practice introductions to get it right the second time here. So this virtual expo, this health fair, is brought to you by Perinatal Connect. We are a group in Champaign County working to connect resources to families who need a little bit of extra support right now because we're all stretched a little thin. My name is Rachel McKinney, and I am on the board of this organization and have been since it started, I think in 2017. And I'm excited to bring these resources to you. So Kate, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Kate Ross. I've been on the IDEA, which is now called Perinatal Connect board for about 2 years now. I had my own experience with a perinatal mental health, lots of anxiety with my first child. And so that inspired me to be more interested in this subject and just how we can support pregnant and parenting families in general. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, thanks. Anyone else on the board who's wanting to introduce themselves too?
Ruby?
I'll go next. I'm Kelly Bertram. I'm the Family Outreach Coordinator at Crisis Nursery, and I work in our home visiting program, and one of those programs is called Beyond Blue, and that program specifically works with moms who might be struggling with postpartum depression, and so I joined the board to really learn about other resources in the community and just get connected with other organizations. So I'm happy to be here.
Great.
Hi, good morning. I'm Ruby and this is Sheila. We work at Champaign and Beyond Public Health, and we're both case managers with a program that's integrated with WIC, and we've been working with low-income moms, both of us for a lot of years. We've been on the board of the IDEA Coalition for
since 2017 also.
Okay, yeah. And it's really exciting to be a part of a project that's actually reaching out into the community to bring real people, real women, like our clients, into research. So we're real happy to be here, be a part of this project today, and seeing where this all goes.
Yes.
Awesome. Great.
I'd like to say just welcome again. Thank you for being here. Keep the energy up. We're going to have lots of door prizes after each speaker. Hopefully you'll all walk away with some resources for postpartum and pregnancy health. We'll get to talk about mental health and resources that are available, and follow our webpage, Perinatal Connect. Good luck on winning prizes.
Awesome. Is that everybody I know we caught Wendy right at the end of her introduction. Do you want to redo it, Wendy, or do you feel like that was enough?
I can do a short one. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Wendy with Perinatal Connect. So thank you for coming. And I will be announcing the prize winner throughout the 2-hour session. So stay tuned, and I will talk to you guys soon.
Awesome. Great. Wonderful. So our very first presenter today is Holly Wondra. She is the Leche League leader in our area and has been since June 2017. She lives in Savoy with her husband and 2 kids. So welcome, Holly. We would love to hear about how people in our community can get connected with the Leche League and how things are going right now with not being able to be in person.
Absolutely. So hi, everybody. It's nice to be here with you. So as Rachel said, I've been a leader for about 4 years now. I got introduced to La Leche when my first was about a month old. So that was about 6.5 years ago now. But yeah, I'll start by giving you just a little bit of an intro, like what La Leche is, and then we can kind of talk about like what our specific group does. So La Leche, in short, is basically just a breastfeeding support group. We love helping families with feeding their babies and answering questions and all that. So the mission for La Leche is officially to help mothers worldwide through mother-to-mother support, encouragement, information, and education, and to promote a better understanding of breastfeeding as an important element in the healthy development of a baby and mother. The mission statement is pretty mother heavy, but I just want to emphasize that we're happy to help all parents and caregivers of babies. So just so to make a special note of that. Our Champaign-Urbana group has been around for a long time. How you can find us and get connected with us is on Facebook. We have a public Facebook page called the Leche League of Champaign-Urbana, and we also have a closed Facebook group, which is La Leche League of Champaign-Urbana, same name, but different types of pages. The public page has my contact information on it. I'm the only leader right now in our area, so if you have questions, if you want to get in touch with me, my phone number is on there. You are welcome to call or text me anytime, or you can send the page a Facebook message, and I usually get back to those just as soon as I can, usually within a few hours, if not usually within a day. But yeah, so I can usually get in touch with people if I don't know the answer to your question, or I'm also happy to connect you with resources or any number of professionals in our community if I cannot personally help you with whatever you're asking about. So I'm happy to connect you with any of the wonderful number of resources that our community offers. The Facebook group is a really valuable place to join because it's a group of parents who are just really supportive of each other and encouraging of each other. It's a safe place to like post a question if you want to kind of get a few different answers, or say, hey, has anybody been there, done this? We answer questions about, all sorts of things like returning to work and pumping, or, what to do with a miserable teething baby, or, things like that. And the group is I just love how encouraging and supportive everyone is of each other. And a lot of people just hop on those posts and say, you're doing great. And very encouraging and supportive. And that's exactly what La Leche League is all about, is just supporting parents and families with all sorts of different situations. So in typical years, we would offer in-person meetings. Of course, this year has just been very strange this last year, and even kind of the year before that was slightly impacted as well. So really for the last couple of years, we haven't had regular in-person meetings, and it's something I'm really hoping we can get back to in kind of the post-COVID era someday. It's really wonderful to get together in person, but we typically would have in-person meetings where we would have like question and answer time, kind of chat, hang out, where our meetings are open to any all families and children. So not just moms and babies, but if any other family members want to come along and help support your breastfeeding journey or feeding journey, that is certainly acceptable too. But unfortunately, like I said, we just haven't been able to have our meetings for the last couple of years for a variety of reasons. And so the good news is we do have the online support, and it's been really wonderful to help families online and to be able to answer questions for them. People send me messages or call me, and then I get back to them and just like I said, direct them to different resources and things like that. I'm happy to help with lots of different things. But yeah, so even though we don't meet in person right now, like I said, we do offer that online support and help. And yeah, I think in terms of getting back to in-person meetings, if you stay connected on our Facebook page, I definitely will announce that. I just don't know exactly when that's going to be or what that's going to look like. But I hope that it is something we can do in the future, is get back to meeting in person again, because it is a really wonderful environment. I remember personally when I went to my very first meeting, I walked in and thought, everybody's going to think I'm just crazy because I'm having all these issues with my 1-month-old, and people are going to think I'm crazy that I'm still trying to breastfeed or whatever. And I walked in and everybody was just so supportive and so like comforting and just like, you're doing great. It's hard for everybody this early. And it was just very comforting to know that I wasn't alone. So I really hope that others can have that similar experience with the Leche League, whether that's online through our Facebook group or kind of one-on-one support with me. One thing to note too is I can provide a lot of basic information about breastfeeding. I can provide kind of that parent-to-parent support and say, kind of offer from my experience or things like that. If any of the questions that I get kind of get into the territory of maybe like medical issues, or if they're more significant breastfeeding issues like latch or weight loss or like baby's weight loss or things like that, I will probably direct you to someone like an IBCLC. Especially if you're in this area, I will say, go contact Teresa Hardy or talk to one of the breastfeeding clinics or something like that, because I can offer a lot of the kind of the more basic information, and then I can give that support of that, like, I've been there, done that. And the other moms in our group can say, yes, I've been there, done that. Here's what I did. So we can kind of offer that emotional support. But in terms of more, if you have more specific questions, like I said, about latch or tongue tie, like things like that, like if there are more specific concerns, then I would probably recommend you go to one of the like the breastfeeding professionals in our community. But yeah, so I think that's about it. Like, again, you can find my contact info and everything about us on Facebook. And like I said, feel free to contact me anytime. I'm happy to help. And like I said, if I can't help, I'm happy to direct you to someone else in our community who can help.
Awesome. Thanks, Holly. That's great information. I have been to, I think we all think that our problems are like, we each only have this problem. But I think once you start getting out into the community, you're realizing that your problem is not typically, unique. And there are people there who are ready to help and support you, even if it is just some of that encouragement. When I went to my first Leche League meeting, I was exclusively pumping. And I was like, I'm walking into a Leche League meeting with a bottle. Like, I have like paraphernalia that's like not like breastfeeding friendly. But I was always, welcomed with, lots of support and just acceptance for where I was at in our breastfeeding relationship. So I think thanks
for bringing that up too, is that I was going to mention that our group especially I have found just to be just absolutely wonderful, because in the times where I have attended meetings and been a part of this group, I mean, there are just so many different moms in so many different places who have been welcomed into our Leche League group and the community and everything. And so I know of moms who have attended meetings who have, they've exclusively breastfed, they've exclusively pumped, they've used donor milk, formula, I mean, a whole mixture of those things. And so I just feel like it's a very welcoming group and very accepting. And so I really hope people get a sense for that and feel comfortable, attending our meetings once we can have them again, but also maybe joining the online Facebook community, or, like I said, just get in touch with me if you need something, and I'm happy to help if I can.
Awesome. Great. Holly, thank you so much. Were there any questions that people had for Holly? I know there were a couple, where can we find that information? But
yeah, just on our, like, even if you don't have Facebook, I think you could probably Google La Leche League of Champaign-Urbana, and our public Facebook page will come up with my phone number. And like I said, the closed Facebook group would be, you have to go request to join. But I would recommend doing that if you want to post a question. I wouldn't recommend posting it on the public page, because then like everyone might be able to see it. But if you send me a message on the public page, I will get it.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Holly.
Thanks.
Yeah, and then we'll turn it over to Wendy now to tell us who won our first prize.
Yes. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Holly, for the wonderful introduction. And we want to thank you, everyone, for joining us today in our virtual health fair. So we prepared tons of giveaway for you today. So we randomly select 13 winners from the live participants through today's 2-hour events. So with that said, we want to announce our first winner is Michelle Wandy. So the gift is Jarlene's $10 gift card. Congratulations, Michelle. So if to claim your prize, feel free to just send a message to us via our Facebook, and we will contact with you regarding the delivery of the gift card. Thank you.
Awesome. That's very exciting. We all need a little bit of ice cream in our lives right now. Excellent. So our next presenter, her name is Kelly. She is the outreach coordinator at Crisis Nursery in Urbana. She was born and raised in Champaign County, so the community is near and dear to her heart. Kelly has an extra passion for working with families in the rural community and mothers who might be experiencing postpartum depression. Kelly is excited to share about Crisis Nursery, specifically Beyond the Blue program, with you today. Kelly, can you tell us more about that program?
Yes, I can. And I apologize. They just started mowing right outside my window. So if it's too loud, I'm so sorry. So I'm Kelly Bertram. I'm the Family Outreach Coordinator at Crisis Nursery in Urbana. And I wanted to share about our Beyond Blue program. So at Crisis Nursery, we have 2 home visiting programs, and one of them is called Beyond Blue. And Beyond Blue is specifically for mothers or just families who might be struggling with like high parental stress. We see a lot of moms in that program who are struggling with postpartum depression. Really, the only requirement to be in that program is you have to either be pregnant or have a child up until the age of 1. Other than that, we really support all families. And in that program, what we do is we have a curriculum called Mothers and Babies that we use, and it just focuses on stress management. We talk about supportive systems and people in your lives. We talk about healthy behaviors and kind of like positive, positive behaviors in your life. Kind of like Holly was saying, we also are virtual right now as well. We used to be in person, and hopefully soon we'll go back to that. But right now our visits do look like either Zoom visits or phone calls, kind of whatever is comfortable for the family. Our visits are typically twice a month, but if a family is needing extra support, we can do weekly as well. Another thing we offer in our program is called is developmental screening. So we use something called the ASQ, which is Ages and Stages Questionnaire. So if a family is interested in checking their child's development, we call them a little developmental checklists. And if a family is interested in that, we can do that as well. And then we also can refer out to other resources as well. So for example, if a family is looking for housing or in anything really, we can help a family kind of get connected with those other resources. I wanted to share about 2 more things. So we also have a Facebook group as well. For families that come on. We post in there just about every day with different resources, different groups or things going on in the community. We'll post about different activities that you can do at home with your kiddos. So that's really fun. And if you're interested in joining, just call the nursery and we'll get you set up with that. We also have a support group going on right now. So our support group is every other Monday at 5 p.m. And that is for kind of that Beyond Blue support as well, but just in a group setting. So in that group, one of our family specialists, Destiny, she's incredible. She is leading that group right now, and she does different activities. So like last week we talked about like mindfulness and how like breathing activities or exercises. And it's a really good, it's been pretty successful. We have a couple moms that come regularly, and it's more of like this community that maybe you don't get in the home visiting side of things. So one more thing. Our home visiting programs, everything at Crisis Nursery is free and voluntary. So you never have to worry about paying for any of our services. And if at any time you're not interested in using them anymore, you can stop using them. Completely voluntary. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's just about it. When we do go back in person, we'll be sure to let family. Oh, if a family is interested in joining any of our any of our groups, any of our Facebook group, or any of our programs, just give the nursery a call and we will get you connected with a family specialist and they can get you signed up. So I think that's about it. I don't know if there's any questions. I know that was kind of fast.
That is great information. So there is kind of two separate things I think that you were talking about. So a support group where lots of people are getting together, and there's a kind of a somebody running that, facilitating that support group, and then you guys do individual visits with families and just kind of talking about their specific needs.
Yep, that's exactly right. So we have 5 family specialists, and so each family specialist will have, you can meet individually with your assigned family specialist for the visits. And then, like you said, the groups are, they're facilitated by one of our family specialists, but that's where all families can come together and kind of work on those things together. So
that's awesome. It's a great opportunity for families in our community to, be with each other and kind of find that community in something that they're working, struggling with too. Like, we all, it helps to be with somebody in that same stage of life and struggling through some of those same things to support each other. So that's a great way to make a new friend.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, did somebody want to ask a question?
Yeah. I wanted to say too that Crisis Nursery's been, we've had a relationship with them for many years, and they have been just an incredible resource for our clients who are depressed and feeling isolated. So we appreciate what you do, and it's good that people are knowing that resource is out there. We're going to continue to share like crazy.
Yes, definitely.
Because your programs are wonderful in our experience.
Yes.
Thank you, Sheila. Yeah, and I got to say, Sheila sends us lots of referrals, and we love that. So thank you, Sheila. It's helpful to have connections with different organizations. We all kind of work together. So.
Yeah, and I think that we can't be siloed in these situations, right? Like we've got all these different resources, but there are some things that we don't even realize exist. And so it's helpful for you guys to be able to refer each other, back and forth to each other. That's awesome. And I know that Crisis Nursery does other programs as well. It's not just for postpartum or perinatal mood disorders. Is there anything that you wanted to share today about what other things Crisis Nursery offers?
Absolutely. So I think when people think of Crisis Nursery, they typically think of our emergency childcare. So that's kind of how we were started. So it's really viewed as like emergency childcare. So and we say emergency, whatever that is for the family. So whatever they feel as an emergency is what that is. But you call the nursery and it's more like kind of last minute care in an emergency situation, completely free. And so that's kind of one side of it, is the childcare side. But then we also have a second home visiting program called Paving Pathways. And that program is, a family is either pregnant or has a child up until the age of 3. And so that one's kind of viewed as like preschool readiness kindergarten readiness. And so that one's focused more on like the child development, parent-child interaction. And we still do developmental screenings in that one. We'll do activities. So before all the virtual stuff, we would go in the home and we would bring an activity and do the activity with the family. And we still are doing a little bit of that, but it's just virtually over Zoom. And then we also have a play group. So right now we have a couple groups going on. Our play group, it is virtual, but we deliver the activity to the family the day before group, and then we all hop on a Zoom link together and do the activity. So it's very similar to in person, but it's just on Zoom. And we've had a lot of fun with that too. I think families have been really enjoying that, and being able to do this fun activity in their home has been really fun. So
it takes some of the pressure off the parents
to
do something and entertain the children. Yeah.
Sure. Especially now, everyone's like at home more than they were before. So we're hopefully able to help and give them something fun to do once a week.
Mhm.
Hey, Kelly, we had another question of what is the age range of your baby? Like, when can you enter the Beyond Blue program? Is it okay, like maybe if you have like a 6-month-old or a 7-month-old and you're just kind of starting to realize you're not doing very well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. You can join at any time before the age of 1. And even once they turn 1, we'll be sure we can either move you over into the Paving Pathways program so you can stay in our home visiting program, or we can help you find another program that might be better fit for you once the baby turns 1. But absolutely, you can join at any time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question.
And what about before you have your baby? Like if you've taken a screener and somebody has said, hey, you are maybe at risk, if you kind of wanted to get ahead of it a little bit and start, kind of exploring what some of those different options are to be ready for when baby is here.
Yeah, absolutely. You can join the day you become pregnant.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great resource. Thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay, Wendy, I think we're ready for another prize.
Yes, Rachel. So the next prize is the International Galleries. We have a $20 gift cards, and the winner is Brian Andres, and we already make the announcement on our Facebook message. Congrats.
Excellent. Awesome. Yeah, congratulations. That's a wonderful prize. Perfect. So we have our next presenter. It's Sheila and Ruby. So you guys have already heard from them just a little bit, but Sheila and Ruby are family case managers at Public Health. They work with WIC, but are a separate program which is funded by a state grant that covers low-income women who are pregnant or have infants 12 months of age or younger. They provide education, counseling, and support and connect them to resources in the community.
It's okay. Ready to start?
Okay, yeah. All right, good morning again.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, we both of us worked at Public Health for a number of years and with the Family Case Management Program. Would like to say a few words about what else is available at Public Health, though, because we offer services for people, across the lifespan. But particularly for pregnant and parenting moms, we have STD testing, birth control, pregnancy tests. There's the WIC program, which is a food program for low-income women. We have a program called Great Start, which was a home visiting program. Now they're virtual as well, which focuses on child development and, again, kindergarten readiness. And then there's us.
Yes.
Yeah, what we do is we work with our clients are basically WIC clients. They're low-income women with either pregnant or parenting a child below 12 months old. We do health education, and that includes nutrition, infant care, pregnancy care. We do assessments, developmental assessments at approximately 2-month intervals. We do depression screenings, and we do a lot of referral. We have relationships with a lot of the other agencies in this area.
Empty Tune is our main one.
Empty Tomb,
Crisis Nursery.
Yeah, because our program isn't intensive. We typically see our women or have contact with our families about every 2 months.
Yes.
We're available if they want to contact us in the meantime. If they need help, if there's an issue they want to discuss. And it's works to our advantage in certain ways because we're not required to actually, ask a lot of their time and their attention, but we're there if they need us. But one of our main functions is to get them to somebody that can help them. For instance, if we have someone who is depressed, who has scores high on a depression screening, we will connect them with a resource where they can get further help, such as Crisis Nursery or with their primary care doctor, counseling, that sort of thing. if they're in a domestic violence situation, we can help them get connected with some resources.
First Connection is one of the resources also.
Yeah. Yeah. Developmental screenings, again, we'll refer to someplace that they can get more intensive developmental help, be it speech therapy or developmental therapy.
Through the Child and Family Connection Program, is who we refer the
Yeah,
babies
our
to.
primary care doctors.
Yes. Also, the program is voluntary. So, if the client doesn't want our services, that's okay. We still will help them. And we are dedicated to what we do. So if someone calls us, no matter what time, at the times we work, we will be available to help them. So
Yeah, and we also connect them with other just basic needs. If a family is, they need diapers and they don't have the resources to get them, they've run out of formula,
and food.
we can connect them with the pantry. And again, with our working relationship with a lot of the agencies, if there are, let's say around Christmas, there are baskets being given away by an agency, we can connect families with those.
And we do. We did 100 baskets last year, connecting families to for Christmas help and Thanksgiving help. So
We're basically there to fill gaps.
yeah, and advocate for the client, and we advocate very well. So
Good.
We have two questions for you all. The first one is how do you find out what the income levels are? Or do you know that off the top of your head, or is there someplace somebody can go to kind of search and find out if their income would fit your requirements?
Yeah, if they're qualified for Medicaid, they qualify for our program. They're income eligible. How we get referrals for our program in general is through the WIC program. So people come in for WIC and they produce proof of income, and it can be a medical card or other forms, check stubs, that kind of thing. And then we get information and we contact our clients. We're normally a face-to-face and a home visiting program.
Yes.
We do our visits either in the office or in the home. But right now, because of COVID, again, we're doing everything virtually, mostly by telephone. We're really eager to get back into the field, but we're waiting, for the state to give us the go-ahead with that, because our client safety is our first priority and our own. All the case managers are fully vaccinated, and we're just kind of waiting to get the word that it's okay to go out and visit people again.
And do people have to come through WIC, or can they just sign up just for family case management separately, or how would someone get your services? Okay.
We're a separate program. If they wanted to do that, I guess what they would do, that'd be an unusual situation because most people they're into getting the WIC as well. But we have had clients that have refused the WIC and have not on case management, waiting to get the word that it's okay to go out and visit. So what they need to do is bring their income in and request the program, and we contact them.
and also to answer one of your questions, they need to be below or at 200% of the federal poverty level for income.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you, Ruby and Sheila, so much. I know that public health has been busy this year, so I appreciate everything that you're doing as you're reaching families, and all this additional work that you guys are doing to help our community, stay healthy with COVID and get those vaccines administered and all of that stuff. So I appreciate all that extra support you guys are giving.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, Wendy, are we ready for a prize?
Yes, everyone. So this is exciting. So we got a $50 gift card from Common Ground Food Co-op, and $50, guys. And our winner goes to James Beckett. James Beckett, congratulations. To claim your prize, please direct message us through our Facebook. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. That's a awesome prize. That's a good one. Yeah, that will be a nice little shopping spree there. Our next person is Mariah Madison. She's from Nannyville. She is a Chicago native, from former Eastern Illinois University basketball star, arrived in Champaign in 2016. At only 25 years old, she has 3 successful businesses in addition to volunteering her time in the community, speaking engagements throughout Champaign County, and tirelessly working to promote local minority-owned businesses. Mariah is the owner of Champaign-Urbana's premier babysitting service and nanny agency, Nannyville, as well as Head Start Marketing, which offers affordable business consulting, web design, and social media marketing. She is also the founder of BuyBlackChampaign.com, which is home to Champaign County's first Black-owned business directory. Holding a bachelor's degree in business administration, she uses her experience and expertise to help create an inclusive business community that welcomes and reflects Champaign County's diverse population of people. So Mariah, we are excited to hear about how you are supporting families in, as COVID has changed, people need a lot more support with helping with families right now. So how have things changed for you guys?
Hi, thank you so much for the introduction. Every time that I hear my introduction, I'm like, that's not me. That can't be me.
But it is.
Yeah. That is me. I'm so happy to be here. So Nannyville is an in-home babysitting service and nanny placement agency. We help families find in-home childcare solutions, and I'm sure you can imagine how much demand we've had within the past couple of months. Initially, when the pandemic happened, we shut down for a few months because no one knew what was going on, and I just didn't feel comfortable sending anyone into anyone's homes at that time. But once things started to open back up, we started providing one-on-one care and typically have a babysitting membership where families could call us anytime, and we would have a babysitter available to you. But we stopped that babysitting membership because we didn't want one babysitter to go into a client's home and then be in like 5 other homes throughout the entire week, because that's just the number one way to spread coronavirus. So we started offering only our part-time nanny memberships. And so the way that works is that we'll meet with a family, they're registered on our site, and then we get to know them and what they're looking for. Most families were looking for help for their children with virtual schooling. And so that it was 10 hours or more a week throughout the school day while the parent either worked from home or they may have worked in the office away from everyone else. And so we were able to help people with that with our part-time nanny service. Soon, once everyone becomes vaccinated, we'll be doing the babysitting membership again, where if you're just looking for a sitter for Friday night from 6 to 10 p.m., you can easily call our office 48 hours before and we can place you with a sitter. The great thing about working with Nannyville is that we hold all of our nannies and babysitters to a very high standard. All of them have went through a phone interview, an in-person interview with me, which has turned into Zoom interviews. I'm a little tired of Zoom. We do a criminal background check and a motorized vehicle check. We take them through an 8-step hiring process, and we vet everyone the same. So when you get a Nannyville sitter, you know that this person will be outstanding and energetic, and they'll show up on time. I think that's the biggest thing. And when you get a part-time nanny with us, it's inevitable. Your nanny may get sick, or they may need to call off for whatever reason. Simply call our agency and we have someone on standby ready to go to give you the childcare you need. I personally have been a nanny for over 6 years. I started as a camp counselor, and here in town, once I graduated with my bachelor's degree, there were a lot of people asking me if I could babysit for them. And I was already working for 4 families during the time, and I was working for 60 hours a week. So I could not do any more, although I wanted to. But then that's how I came up with the idea for Nannyville, to bring together a group of people who were just like me, who love providing care for children, and to do that for those families because it alleviated so much stress. And then diversity got included into it, because I remember I was working with my very first family, and they were twins, and I was dancing and singing in the kitchen because I'm really, really animated. I'm an animated nanny. And I turned around and I did a spin and I said, "Oh, I'm a princess." And then the boy says, "Well, you can't be a princess. Look at your hair." And his sister says, "Yes, she can be a princess. Yes, she can." And he says, "Well, look at her skin color." And then his sister really says, "Yes, she can be a princess. She can." And I said, "Hey, why do you think I can't be a princess?" And he said, "Well, I never saw a princess that looked like you before. And so for me, not only was I providing childcare, which is something I love to do, I was also bridging the gap within diversity and showing them that even if someone doesn't look like you, they're still capable of loving you and being anything that they want to be. And so it's kind of funny because I worked for that family. Again, once the pandemic happened, they only felt comfortable having me come into the house. And when I came in, they were wearing they were talking through school about, all of the protests and things that were going on. And they were so knowledgeable about everything. And I was just glad to help be a part of that. So for Nannyville, we offer 3 services total before I close out. We offer the babysitting membership, which is if you just need occasional care, you just let us know. You can call our office, you can send an email, or you can book online. We also offer the part-time nanny membership, and that's if you need a nanny for 10 hours a week or more. You'll get to work with the same nanny each and every time. And then we also offer full-time nanny placements, and this is for families who are looking for a nanny for 1 to 5 years, and they really want to grow and nurture that person. We'll do the background check and all the screenings, but the family can hire the nanny themselves. We hire our nannies, and we make sure that we hold them to a certain standard. One of the biggest things that I know that we offer is overnight childcare. So we work with infants to provide overnight childcare if you have just come home with a newborn baby, or I really know that the 4-month regression is like the toughest things for families. So I always try to let them know at 4 months, if you need any additional help, please let us know. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Awesome. I just know that childcare is such an important thing, especially right now. So it's great that, and we also want to make sure that everybody's being safe and are healthy before they come into our house. So it is wonderful that you have the ability to, give us additional resources if the nanny that we had originally hired is not available. So I think that it's great that we don't have to kind of rush to figure out what to do next or take time off work, because that is not always an option for some families.
Mm-hmm. So some families have also been requesting that the nanny is vaccinated, which the family can request that on behalf of the agency. We cannot request that. But if they're doing a full-time placement by law, they can request that. So we've had a lot of in-search of nannies who have become vaccinated and they're looking for work. And a lot of families are looking for that because they feel that that is a safer option. So we've been able to provide that type of childcare.
Awesome. Great. Were there any questions? I am looking at the, what are the COVID procedures for Nannyville?
Perfect. That is a great question. So when COVID hit, we actually decided that one nanny could only work with one family throughout the entire pandemic. And we would match families based off of what they felt comfortable with for COVID exposure levels. So for instance, some families that we worked with were first responders, and we wanted to make sure that we were able to provide childcare for them, but we also wanted to make sure that we were protecting our nannies as well. So we were fully transparent about their COVID exposure levels, and we would rank it on low to moderate to very high. And we would let the family and the nanny decide if that's something that they wanted to engage in. Each time a nanny comes into your home, they are required to wash their hands. They also are required to wear a face mask inside the home. We ask that both the parents and the nanny wear face masks inside the home.
Hi, Mariah. This is Ruby. Is there a charge for the services?
Yes, there is a charge for the services. So we offer 2 different tiers of Nannyville. So we operate a Facebook group called CU Childcare Facebook Connection, where you can go and you can find a nanny on there. There's freelance babysitters and nannies there who are looking to work for families, and they connect themselves through that third party. And then we also do all of that background check and screening work for you, but that one's more of a premier service. So if you go in that Facebook group, you set the price on what you feel comfortable with paying that nanny or babysitter per hour. With our agency, prices ranges from $21 to $23 per hour of childcare.
And Mariah, we had a question of how much is a part-time membership?
Perfect. So for the part-time membership, there is a one-time registration fee of $250 so we can get to know your family and do all the things to set you up in our system. After that, you only pay for the hours that you use. So if you have 3 children or less, it's $21 per hour. And that includes the pay for the nanny and also our insurance and being able to call us whenever you need us. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, on-call nanny services are wonderful, but yeah, it can be a little bit more than maybe what you were, expecting to pay a sitter that you find on that Facebook group.
Yes, I actually had a call from a parent, and I explained to them that it was $21 an hour, and he told me that he, couldn't do that because he didn't make that much per hour. And with me coming from my background, I was raised by my sister predominantly. My mom was in the home, but she had to work. And so that's why I took over that CU Child Care Connection Facebook group, because it does offer more affordable childcare. But at the end of the day, we do have to realize that this nanny or babysitter, this is their job, and they have to make a livable wage as well. And so it's always that balance between trying to make things very accessible for families, but also taking care of that worker who's in the home.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is important to make sure that we're hiring people that are coming into our home and feeling valued also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Mariah, for sharing about all of your experiences and all of your businesses and Nannyville specifically.
Thank you so much for having me. I think this is such an amazing thing for our community.
Yes. Thank you for being a part of it. Awesome. Okay, Wendy, are we ready for our next prize?
Yes, of course, Rachel. So our next prize is a $20 gift cards from International Galleries, and the winner is Rebecca Richards. So Rebecca, send us direct message to our Facebook to claim your prize. And for the rest of everyone, stay tuned because we have many other gift cards and the prize is coming up.
Awesome. Wonderful. So that is a wonderful introduction to our next presenter. We have Becca Richards, LCSW. Rebecca Richards is a psychotherapist that specializes in fertility challenges, pregnancy, and postpartum. She supports birthing people through the challenges that can appear on the pathhood to parenthood. She can be found on the local group at the local group and private practice called Carrie Powell Therapy. I know therapy is such a great resource. I love my therapist. I've spent many a morning, either laughing or crying with her. So I am excited to hear what Becca has to share with all of us, because I think therapy is one of those things that is a great value.
Yes. Hello. Well, that was exciting. I got to win a door prize right before I presented.
Yeah, a little bit of a lift there.
It was my incentive. Yes, it was all good. Oh, so yes, I'm a psychotherapist. I work at Carrie Powell Therapy here in town. I specialize, like we said, in the perinatal population. So that includes things like trying to get pregnant, the pregnancy itself, and loss, depending, right? Birth trauma, the first year, even too. So that is kind of the scope of what that particular specialty covers. But we also see all different types at our therapy practice in particular. So I'll just talk just a little bit maybe about some of the things that can happen during that perinatal period that can kind of maybe give you a reason to maybe seek some more support. So I've been watching some of the other presenters, and so I just love our community. There's so many wonderful things that are being offered. So we've covered some of these already a bit, especially with the crisis nursery and some other things. So we expect that during pregnancy and postpartum that we're going to struggle, right? It's not an easy time. So we expect some things like maybe feeling extra irritable, extra tired, struggling with some of the transitions, pregnancy and postpartum sleep deprivation. We don't talk about sleep deprivation much in pregnancy, but that is a very common thing too. So I always like to say that the Chinese use, I'm joking, but the Chinese use sleep deprivation is torture for a reason, right? It's torture, right? Nobody likes that. So it's, we feel terrible when we're struggling that way. So we have common things that we struggle with, but sometimes they can become to a point where we feel like there's just more, we need more help. So those things involve things like feeling uninterested in things that used to be interesting to you, like activities or doing things, feeling really extra irritable or ragey, finding that you have lots of intrusive thoughts. So things like, obsessing over harm to your baby, obsessing over, walking near the staircase and obsessing over dropping them, walking in the kitchen and obsessing over the knives on the counter. There are things that can happen sometimes with our hormones and with all the other things that can happen where it could make it an extra big struggle. So it can be helpful sometimes to then seek out specialists like me and some others in the community to kind of help treat some of these conditions. So there's lots of things we can do. Obviously, therapy. There's so many techniques that we use in therapy to help with some of these. We have medications that can help if we see that it's a biophysical issue. We have lots of other different techniques that we use. I heard which is really wonderful, the groups that they're having at Crisis Nursery covering things like mindfulness and relaxation techniques and things of that sort. So there's just lots out there. I just hope and wish that we could kind of bring treatment to more women than are receiving it. So right now, statistically, 10 to 20% of women will develop a perinatal mood disorder. That's the new name for things like postpartum depression. Postpartum depression is just one of a myriad of ones that can happen, though. So we have postpartum anxiety, we have postpartum psychosis on the extreme end, we have postpartum OCD, we have lots of things that can kind of go amiss. And a lot of times postpartum depression is the one that people know about and talk about, which is better than it used to be. But now people will say, well, I don't feel depressed, but I feel ragey, or I feel like I just can't get a hold of my anger, or I'm having, like I said before, those intrusive, scary thoughts all the time. I'm watching my baby breathing every night. I'm obsessing over the breathing. I can't even sleep myself. So, there's lots of kind of myriad of things that along the way that we have wonderful treatments and support for. So it's just important to realize as we go into this that these things, can be a reality and that it's normal. So when I said before 10 to 20%, that's actually just what the statistics say. The truth is it's probably higher. So lots and lots of women don't report. So there's lots and lots of people that, the numbers are just higher is what I mean.
Mm-hmm. And we think that it's normal, right? Like we're just feeling these things and it's like, oh, this is expected. And maybe there is a little bit of that's expected, but like you said, when it becomes bigger than just, every once in a while kind of feeling or being extra tired, because that's just going to happen. There are things that you need to kind of pay attention to a little bit more.
Yes. And the hardest part is during that period, particularly postpartum, but even in pregnancy, sometimes it's hard to see it in ourselves, right? And it's helpful to have someone else say, yes, it's normal to worry about your baby. I'm not saying it's not normal to have intrusive thoughts, because it actually is. It's common. We like to call it not normal. But, when is it to a point where it's going to be detrimental to your well-being, right? So it's helpful to have someone else kind of giving you a gauge of where that is and how you feel. But, my dream and goal is that just being pregnant, you need support. Like, why are we waiting until we're struggling or suffering? Just pregnancy itself really should be a time to seek support. I would love to see where it's normalized for women that are struggling to get pregnant and are pregnant, and then of course have a baby, where it's just normal to seek therapy. It's just part of the process. So it's a really beautiful thing that the specialty that I'm in, and this is becoming more common, I feel like it should be as common as going to get your prenatal visits with your, healthcare providers in other senses. So I feel like that's something that hopefully we can move towards. So
I think we are starting to prioritize. I mean, it's hard for me to say that because I live in a world where we are talking about it more.
Yes.
And so it is a lot louder for me than it is in other worlds for people. But I am hoping that we're getting to a point. And I think it's tricky too. Like you said, we screen for depression, but we're not, I wasn't sad, but like you said, I wouldn't walk up and down the stairs with my baby because I was just afraid of dropping her. And when I brought that to my care provider, they were like, well, you're fine. Like, just don't walk up the stairs then. And I was like, that's not helpful because,
Yeah.
it is postpartum anxiety and maybe some of those other things. So that,
Mhm.
me just not walking up and down the stairs doesn't actually make me feel better.
Right.
There are other things. So
Yeah. I mean, I think particularly the difference, I feel like postpartum depression versus all the others, right? We're so lucky that we're finally talking about it at all in society. So we have lots of movies and lots of different celebrities and stuff talking about postpartum depression in particular. But if you don't meet those symptoms, or if you take that Edinburgh, which is that depression scale, with your healthcare provider, and it looks like you said, like, I look fine. I don't have any of these depressive symptoms, but you have some of the others, right? So there's actually different kind of scales that we can use for other things. But the idea being ultimately that there's more variance to this than people realize. What it really should come down to is I don't feel like myself. I feel overwhelmed. There's something not right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're going to hear from others in your life. That's what you're going to feel. You're not going to say, I have postpartum anxiety, right? You're just going to say, oh my goodness, I do not feel like myself. This seems like more of a struggle than I thought. So one other thing I wanted to actually mention is that I want to reiterate, this is not just postpartum as well. This is pregnancy. So we are seeing those rates in pregnancy as well. So you don't wait till you have your baby if you're seeing the symptoms even in pregnancy, right? So a lot of times I feel like that isn't discussed enough, that pregnancy itself can bring on some of these. And why wouldn't it? Pregnancy's hard. Sleep deprivation is hard. If you're having more than one baby and you're struggling to parent a toddler and pregnant, my goodness, right?
Absolutely.
So then let's just scoop on a pandemic and see how you feel.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like the need for all this is even greater right now because for me, and I'm sure lots of other people, it was like getting in community with people was the thing that helped me kind of get out of that a little bit, even more than just a therapist. And right now, we're very limited in what we can do.
We are. So the good news is that one of the main kind of certifying bodies with my certification and some other things is called Postpartum Support International, PSI. And they have lots of online free support groups. And they have amped that up a lot this year, thankfully, because we need it. So they have, obviously we have some of these wonderful local resources, but what's great now is that even though it stinks to be on Zoom, it'd be much better to be in person. At least we have these options now to do this. I feel like even a year ago, me trying to do therapy over Zoom was awkward and weird, and now it's just natural, right? So
we're all used to a 2D version of somebody else.
Right. But the other interesting thing as a side note about Zoom therapy is that it's been a beautiful transition for postpartum and pregnancy if you have little ones at home, because, right, you can just have them in the room with you, or the baby's in arms, or it's a lot easier for I hope that actually stays, that we can do teletherapy for all postpartum moms. Right.
Yeah, for anybody who needs that.
Yeah. Who needs that. Right. So there has been some things in the pandemic that aren't so bad. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Becca, for coming in and chatting about all the things that you're offering to people.
Yes. Thanks for the door prize.
Yeah. Congratulations.
We had
go ahead.
Sorry. Hi, Becca. We had a question actually.
Yes.
It says, do you accept insurance? And do people generally need like pre-approval with their insurance company for therapy services?
Yes. So we accept most insurances, almost all of them. The only one we don't accept is Medicaid. And that is where some of our local agencies, we already heard from today, and some we will, kind of fill in that gap wonderfully. So we have public health and crisis nursery and places like that. But we do not accept Medicaid, but we do accept all others, most others. So the way that it works is that you call in or email to the group, and this happens with all other private practices as well. And then the admin will actually call and get your insurance information pre-approved. So you'll know what you owe for copay or not, or depending. So they help with all of that, and they get it nice and smooth worked out for you. And then they'll tell you kind of what your situation is and what it'll look like. So many people have good coverage, and they'll pay, just a copay to come and see. So copays can range, 15, 25, 30, depending. So
right now, my telehealth is free. Blue Cross is
free.
covering it 100%.
Yes,
So.
I was going to say, the only reason I didn't mention it earlier is that they're starting to phase out some of those stupid.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
I hope they can keep it going.
Yeah.
So during COVID, actually, a lot of insurance, what Rachel's referring to is during COVID, they've been waiving some copays. So that was the way the insurance companies have been supporting people, in the midst of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
The other fingers crossed is that telehealth will be covered perpetually too, so that it will always be something that you can choose. You can choose to see someone in person or just telehealth. Right now, they're extending it by 1 month to 3 month increments. So every few months we're hearing, oh yeah, you can keep going. So I'm hoping that it will continue kind of, forever now. Yeah. So I think now that we've got the systems in place and insurance companies are seeing it's working the same, I think they will. So I'm really hoping that that'll be the case. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate your broad approach, your broad definition of, perinatal mood disorders, and also the idea that it's pregnancy, that all women need the support. Because I think the more that idea is out there, the more we're going to start including groups that don't necessarily have access. Do you see a future in which women on Medicaid, low-income women, are going to have more access to actual, counseling, psychotherapy, mindfulness, because those things are covered often under insurance?
Yes, they are. They are. I do see a future in that. I myself am trying to figure out what that future looks like. There's a lot of, the problem with Medicaid is that there's just a lot of hoops and different things, as you know, I'm sure. So it can become more difficult for a private practice to manage. But there, I feel there's some ways to get around that I'm exploring myself even. Maybe grant funding and some other things, maybe offering some free groups, just ways that population, that section, population has the access to the same treatment. It's just kind of ridiculous that we don't.
I think the more that it's seen as standard, that this is.
I agree.
That the
I know.
breast hoops need to jump through. So.
Right. And they refer to that as removing the barriers. We don't want any barriers between them and treatment. We don't want them to have to search all over town or find who's accepting what insurance. It should just be, where do I go to need help? And then they go there, right? Or they know exactly where to go. And that the providers in town know where to send them. That's a big one, right? Mm-hmm. So I just started presenting at the Centering Pregnancy program at Christie Clinic. So that population now is learning some of the, what's available in town. Carl, of course, has their psychology department. They don't have a lot of specialists there, and their wait lists are miles long. So there needs to be a different modality that kind of covers that. So we're working on that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Becca. It was great chatting.
Yes.
Okay, Wendy, we are ready for our next prize, please.
Yes, Rachel, our next prize is a $20 gift card from Dancing Dog Eatery, and the winner is Alicia Joy. Alicia Joy, congratulations. I hope that will bring you joy. And for the rest, stay tuned. We have 8 other gifts and that is ready to give away.
Excellent. Well, we're excited to hear who wins next, but first we're going to talk to Ashley Price of CU Movement. Ashley is a movement therapist with a particular interest in the needs of pregnant and postpartum people. She's a nutritious movement certified restorative exercise specialist and currently training to teach Restore Your Core, a modality that helps women recover from diastasis recti and pelvic floor dysfunction. She provides services at Health and Harmony in the Lincoln Square Mall. So Ashley, we are excited to hear about how you are serving the people in our community.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. my bio covers a lot of it. I help, I'm particularly passionate about helping women use gentle, simple movements, changing some habits occasionally, but really working with their bodies to feel better and move better in their daily life. My sessions, so I work primarily one-on-one with people, women of the perinatal period, all ages and abilities really. But my sessions really focus on helping people meet whatever their movement goal is. As Rachel said, I have a lot of experience with pelvic floor dysfunction and diastasis recti, which, if you're unaware, that is a common abdominal injury that is associated but not caused by pregnancy, where you have an actual gap forming between the muscles in your abdomen. So I have a lot of ways to help people gradually heal from that. My sessions are very individually focused. So everybody has their own movement history, their injuries, their anatomical, irregularities. All bodies are different. Bodies are weird. And there's a lot of really cool stuff I can do to help people deal with a lot of the common pains, discomforts, or concerns that are associated with pregnancy and postpartum recovery. Right now in the pandemic, I'm only seeing clients one-on-one in person, because it really does help to have space to move and have a three-dimensional body. I am double vaccinated. I have masks, filters, and all of that stuff. We're actually pretty COVID conscious at Health and Harmony. I've been very excited about that. Once things open up a bit more, I'm thinking, August, September, I'm planning on running group classes for Restore Your Core. Which, if you are familiar with that online, it's really exciting that I'm going to get to be able to bring that there. Restore Your Core has been fantastic for my own postpartum healing journey. And that's going to be, that looks a lot more, looks like, but is not yoga and Pilates, but from a more mindful biomechanical perspective. At this point, I don't have much to say because so much of what I do is individualized. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes. What are some of your results?
Some of my results?
Yes.
Okay, so I have had several pregnant women come in dealing with low back pain and sciatica, and I have almost every session that somebody comes to see me, they walk out of there feeling better than when they walked in. Occasionally, especially with this one joint issue, which people may or may not have heard of it, is called sacroiliac joint dysfunction. It's the pain right there. I have had people walk out of my sessions feeling 100% better. They then are given tools to use at home to maintain that progress and to help figure out ways to kind of get things back into alignment and back in the way they should be, the way that works better, feels better, so that they don't have to spend too much time working with me. I'm not a hands-on body worker, but they can do a lot of stuff at home on their own. So there's that. I have clients who have developed, mostly found really good functional core. So I help a lot of people find deep core engagements, which helps support both, the pregnant belly, recover from the postpartum period, reduce back pain, and get back into the athletics that they may or may not be interested in. So I work with a lot of athletes who have been injured and want to come back, or mothers who want to get into, go back to their fitness regime, whatever that may be. And we're talking everything from aerial fitness to long distance running to just wanting to be able to play at the park with their children and it not hurt. So I have a lot of experience with that one. Also with pelvic floor dysfunction. Most of my clients who come to see me for that, it's usually they experience what's called stress incontinence, or, peeing when you sneeze or jump on a trampoline. And within, 3 or 4 sessions, they are usually able to dramatically reduce their symptoms, and over time, completely heal from that pelvic floor dysfunction. In my own body, with the techniques that I use, for those of you who've ever been to the trampoline park after having children, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Using the techniques that I teach people that I've learned through Restore Your Core and through Nutritious Movement, I don't have any more problems at the trampoline park, and I go there quite regularly. So that is something that usually people are pretty happy about.
Yeah, it's one of those common things that doesn't have to be normal.
Yes, it is very, very common. It's not a sign that anything is broken. Many people experience stress incontinence, and there's a lot to do with how we breathe, how we move, what our muscles can actually handle under what loads. So anything from like lifting up something heavy to jumping on a trampoline to running, all totally normal, biomechanically normal. And doing little things like strengthening certain muscles and playing around with this really cool breathing technique can just completely rewire how those muscles fire to give you the support you need, so you don't need to wear a pad when you're playing with your kids.
And Ashley, we had a question about the cost structure or the general like costs involved.
Mm-hmm. So for new clients, I recommend beginning with a 1-hour session with me, and I charge $75 an hour. When I run group classes, which I did before the pandemic, it would be capped at 8 people. So there's lots of individual attention, and I do pregnancy, postpartum, pelvic floor classes, diastasis recti classes regularly. And that was $25 per person for a 2-hour workshop. And you came home with tools to use on your own time. I try to make that accessible. Because, like Mariah was talking about with, there's a cost and livable wage and all of that, that needs to be part of it. But these services are so, I think, important for helping people live the life that they want. So my group classes, I price them to be affordable. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, what my price structure is going to be for the 6-week Restore Your Core series that I'm planning on doing, pandemic allowing, this fall, but it's going to be around $15 to $20 for a and I'm going to make sure it's affordable and in line with a lot of the other smaller group fitness classes in town.
Okay. So I was wondering about the diastasis recti. I've read a little bit about it, and I know that it's something that occurs during pregnancy, and there's certain exercises that can actually make it worse. I'm wondering how long after pregnancy can this be corrected? Because that's something that will stay with you for your whole life, right, if you don't address it.
It is absolutely able to be healed at any stage. So first of all, diastasis recti is associated with, but not caused by pregnancy. It often shows up with, movement imbalances or people who, very fit people can develop a pretty obvious diastasis recti, and it really has to do with the abdominal tension. So first of all, I'm going to have to stand up and show my belly for this. So don't mind me. But we have these, our 6-pack muscles, 6-pack abs right here, and a line of connective tissue that runs between them. In a diastasis recti, that opens up and gets wider. And doesn't really come back together, so the muscles aren't firing the way we want them to. In pregnancy, in order to make room for the baby, the reason we have that ability to separate is so that we can grow, which means that most pregnant women towards the end of pregnancy have a functional separation there that is not at all a problem, that is 100% normal. Because, the 4th trimester is a thing, and it takes time to heal connective tissue, and just, everything has to resettle. I don't recommend people even consider looking at whether or not they have a diastasis until after 3 months postpartum, because before that is completely normal healing. Now, the separation itself is caused by just, how we hold ourselves, how we move, which muscles are firing where, and that can be retrained at any stage postpartum or even irrelevant to pregnancy. So I've worked with people who, have abdominal separation or similar core dysfunction that have never had children or had children 30 years before, to people who are 6 months postpartum and wanting to get back into, feeling strong and in control again.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, I have taken classes with Ashley also, and I have been very happy with how with the information I've gotten. I still am like even the how to hold your body is a whole separate thing. So it always feels so unnatural at first, but as you practice, you get better at having that core fire in the right ways, like she was mentioning. So are there any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ashley, for sharing with us what you have going on. And I'm excited to hear about when you start to restore your core classes, because I bought that membership and I still have not done one class. So I really need some accountability. So I'm excited to hear about when that gets started. So I think, Wendy, we're ready for another prize.
Yes, I'm ready to give out another great prize. So the next prize is actually sponsored by CU PhD. It's a one breastfeeding survival bag. It contains a lot of good stuff like, breast pumps, pads, bags, and packs of diapers, baby blankets, hair, water bottle, blah, blah, blah. So, and the winner goes to Wing Yi Chen. So Wing Yi, congratulations. Please contact us to claim your prize.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's a lot of good stuff in that prize basket there. And it's very it's awesome that it's breastfeeding, because we're about to talk to Teresa Hardy, who runs Nurtured Beginnings, and she is a pediatric nurse practitioner and an IBCLC with over 25 years of complex breastfeeding challenges and helping new parents learn how to feed their babies confidently. She provides these services in the comfort of your own home generally. And I know that Teresa has been driving all over town caring for new parents and babies. And so I'm excited that she's here taking some time to tell us how she's, what she offers and how she's been doing these visits during COVID.
Well, thank you, Rachel. I'm actually going to be starting my 28th year soon.
Oh, wow. Yes, I knew that it was, you've been doing it for so long.
It is amazing. So one day I thought it would be fun to calculate my mother-baby visits over my career path just doing this. And so I did the calculations and I came up with this wild number, and I kept redoing and downsizing the calculations, and the most conservative estimate I came up with was 20,000. And that was several years ago.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But good. I will say that every day is new and fresh. That's why I'm still doing this. I really enjoy and am passionate about helping moms and babies on their breastfeeding journeys. Breastfeeding is absolutely natural, and babies are born with reflexes and instincts to be able to breastfeed well. But there can certainly be challenges, and they can be compounded. There can be challenges for mom and challenges for baby, and very often it's a combination of both. And that's kind of where I come in. And my goal in working with moms and babies is to reduce their stress around the breastfeeding experience. And so I always ask them their goals, but I tell them my goal, which is that they feel better when we finish up our appointment, and they feel like, okay, we've got a plan, and this is what we're going to do to help achieve those goals. So the babies and moms I work with, I actually cover a very wide area, in part because of COVID. I do some visits over Zoom. But I do a lot of in-person visits. So if you live in Champaign, Urbana, or the sort of immediate surrounding smaller communities, I'm happy to come to your home for the visit. I'm fully immunized against COVID, but I still wear my mask. And if for families that live greater distances, I've seen families from as far away as Chicago, Effingham, Kankakee. I have a really comfortable and welcoming home office where I see them there. So in working with moms and babies, one of the things that you will notice in Champaign-Urbana is that there's been kind of an explosion of breastfeeding support. When I first started, I felt like the Lone Ranger. I was the only lactation consultant for about a 50-mile radius. And now we live in a community where we are blessed to have not one, but 2 hospitals designated as baby friendly. And part of that experience is that the nurses have training in breastfeeding support, and there are actually lactation consultants on staff. And they can help you get off to a good start, have a plan in place for hospital discharge, and they do very good basic breastfeeding support. Where I tend to come in is where things get really challenging. For instance, mom has low milk supply and baby is preterm. Well, that requires sort of an advanced level of breastfeeding support. And only 3% of lactation consultants are advanced practice providers. And that gives me the ability to diagnose, to treat, to write prescriptions, order tests. And so working with moms and babies with higher level challenges, those are my people. I'm always happy to work where we just need to do some fine tuning to get things off to a good start, or to do what I call a breastfeeding checkup, which is a great idea before mom returns to work, just to make sure that you've got a great plan in place for navigating that big change of returning to work and continuing breastfeeding. Trying to think of other things. Anybody have any questions for me?
I don't know if there are any questions right now, but I will say that you say that you want people to feel calm about the breastfeeding experience, and I know. I mean, I've worked with a lot of families who have also worked with Teresa, and know that that's absolutely something that people say over and over and over again about you. And I even have been at some of the houses where you have been, and just kind of watching the parents feel much more relaxed and comfortable through their sessions with you, it's very obvious. So.
Well, and I think, humans as a general rule can deal with just about anything if they have a plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what I think moving forward, yes, absolutely makes them feel like, okay, we have a plan, I can do this. And if you get to a point where you are feeling like maybe I can't, and you want to rehear that plan again, that is when, every time I go to somebody's house and that I know is working with you, I'm like, when was last time Teresa came, right? Like, let's make sure that you guys are continuing that conversation, because even if the plan hasn't changed, it's nice for that encouragement to know that we're moving towards the plan.
Well, one of the things, my big piece of equipment that I bring to all the visits is this baby weigh scale, and it is accurate to a half a teaspoon. And the benefit of that is that it helps moms put together how much the baby appears to be drinking at the breast with how much they actually took in. And so many times it's really reassuring to see, oh, well, yeah, I guess she did a pretty good job there.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with a baby last week, and it was, I think, my 3rd visit, and the baby had a tongue tie release, and we both thought things were going really pretty well. And the baby was nursing, mom was in no pain, and we were just chatting. And after a while, the mom said, well, I think he's done. Now, keep in mind, this is a 2-week-old, 8-pound, 12-ounce baby. And she said, I wonder how much he took. And we plopped him upon the scale, and lo and behold, he took 6.3 ounces.
Holy smokes.
She said, oh, he's going to hurl. And I said, no, that's not the way breastfeeding works. He digests as he goes. He did poop, though. But those visits can be incredibly reassuring. And sometimes I come in for one visit, and it's about 2 hours. I do a really good assessment, design a plan of care, and then follow up with mom by email. And she'll say, well, actually, things are going great. And so I'll say, that's absolutely fabulous. Let me know if he throws you any curveballs. But for some babies, it's multiple visits. And fortunately, under the Affordable Care Act, your insurer is required to pay for breastfeeding support. And for the bulk of the insurance companies, without regard to copay or deductible. In other words, there's not a copay for my visits. And so I've seen some babies, with special challenges 8 or 9 times over the course of their breastfeeding journey. So it's a good illustration that breastfeeding challenges are absolutely unique to each mom and baby. So,
Teresa, we had a question. Can you diagnose ties?
Oh, yes. Yes. So I teach a free breastfeeding class at Christie Clinic every month. And I also work with Carl's centering group. And I bring up tongue tie, not in passing, but just kind of briefly. And tongue tie often becomes an issue when moms have really worked with getting the babies off to a good latch. They're using great physical supports. They're adjusting the latch. Mom has a good milk supply and it's still painful. And there's usually a physical reason for that. And that physical reason is often tongue restriction, which is much more common than anybody thinks. In fact, when I first started, I was the newborn nurse practitioner at Christie for 20 years, and I saw every newborn breast and formula fed. And I kept looking at these babies and saying, well, there's more tongue tie. Well, that's another tongue-tied baby. So I go back to my books and it said, 4%. And I thought, is there something in the water in Champaign? What's the problem here? But I was doing research for a talk I was given at a hospital on tongue tie, and I found rates of 12.5% and 15%. And that didn't include feeding problems. It was just these babies are tied. But tongue tie is a big deal. It has a huge impact on the baby, a huge impact on mom and the breastfeeding experience. And so, yes, I have a great deal of expertise, not just in diagnosing tongue tie, but in developing a plan of care to comprehensively address not just the tie, but the compensations that babies have and the oral rehabilitation that follows tongue tie release. Because you can't just go in and release a tongue tie and have everything be hunky-dory. It's a process. They leave, if I send you to a provider, an excellent provider, baby leaves the office with all the mobility they'll ever need and not much function. It takes time and therapy. So yes, I deal a lot with tongue tie.
Great. Yeah, I know that lots of people need this support. So we're excited and thankful for your confident and calm support for these families in our area, Teresa.
Before you go, do you have a website?
I do. nurturedbeginnings.net. I also have a Facebook page, Nurtured Beginnings, and there's a contact me button on my website. And I try to respond to emails within a half day. That's my goal. Sometimes it takes a whole day, but I'm very responsive. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Babies need you when they need you. So that's
They're not patient little beings. No, they're not. So thank you so much, Teresa.
You are entirely welcome. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
And I think, Wendy, we are ready for another prize.
Yes, Rachel, I'm so ready to give out like more and more prize because we still have like 6 other prizes waiting to like give away. So,
yes.
But our next like prize is actually a self-care bag. Like who doesn't need like self-care, right? From like CUPHD. And the winner is Mel Carp. Congrats, Mel.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, the self-care bag sounds lovely right now. When doesn't it? When don't we need self-care? Our next presenter is Osa Julie Cravens. And if I'm saying that wrong, please correct me. She works at Courage Connection, and their mission is to ensure everyone in the community has education, resources, and support to live in a safe and healthy relationship, whether you might be in an abusive relationship and need resources, or if you're just seeking information. Their team of professionals is here to help anyone that has been affected by domestic violence. So I am excited to hear about what you offer, Osa Julie.
Okay. Is my mic on? Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So thank you. And it is Aujali Cravens, but
thank you.
I'm okay with.
No, I will write it down. We'll get it right.
A funny way of remembering is to think of au jus sauce and then Adley at the end. I worked at a restaurant a long time ago. My boss told me that's how he remembered. So it tends to help people.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, as you said, I work for Courage Connection. We're the local domestic violence shelter here in Champaign-Urbana. We actually serve 4 counties. So in conjunction with Champaign-Urbana area, we also serve Piatt, Douglas, and Ford County. So we help anyone who's been affected by domestic violence, and basically that includes shelter, legal advocacy, counseling, and housing services. And that's just to name a few. Our advocates do go above and beyond to help whatever the need is. So with domestic violence, often people feel that it is only physical violence, and that is a large element of it. But when it comes to domestic violence, often people don't realize they're in a domestic violence situation because the abuse is emotional, or it could be financial abuse. It could also be, we're in the age of technology, so digital abuse is also something that happens, especially when it comes to partners stalking. So we help in all those aspects. What we've also seen is spiritual abuse that has happened, where either someone is trying to control how someone worships, or wanting someone to basically abide by them by using different passages from the Bible or whatever spirituality that they're following. So they'll use those guise of spirituality to control someone. So domestic violence is all about power and control. So spirituality is kind of an easy way to manipulate people. And recently we've seen that in a few of our clients with COVID, and people trying to turn to something to uplift them and rise their spirits. We've seen how people have been able to manipulate forms spirituality. So we just are aware of, there's always things that change, and we're trying to stay on top of different ways that people use to manipulate other people, unfortunately. So, with our services, counseling is a big one. Right now, we're actually, we were at capacity, but due to virtual platforms, we're able to see more people and meet people where they are. So that's been a really great thing hate to say a great thing to come out of COVID, but that's been a great thing that we have kind of stumbled upon because of COVID. So we are able to do a lot of teletherapy, and especially with kids, and that's been extremely useful. We've created kind of a virtual video game platform where our counselors and our therapists are able to use this. It's kind of like a video game where kids can choose different characters on the screens to identify with their emotions. And that's been really helpful, especially in children as young as 3 years old. I know they've tried it on some kids that were right around the 2-year mark. So, those young children who are seeing whether it's physical abuse or hearing that emotional abuse in the home, we're wanting to make sure that when the parent comes for help, that we're able to help them any way that we can. So those platforms have been very, very useful for that. Sorry, I'm trying to stay on task, looking at my notes. So one of the things of our services that is extremely helpful is we work with rapid rehousing. So we have our shelter, and that is our emergency shelter for when people are fleeing domestic violence. And that just basically is that immediate need for safety. But then what we work to do, our advocates and our housing coordinator, is make sure that people have a safe, permanent home to go to. So they immediately start working on that housing assistance piece. Often because so many of those elements of domestic violence are all blended together. So there's physical abuse, financial abuse, and emotional abuse. So we often see where someone has been physically abused, they also don't have means to finances. They might have a job and work every day, but the abuser has isolated them from their own finances, or has done things like created situations where maybe there's evictions in their name or bills that haven't been paid. We are able to take our resources and pay down those bills, or help with any types of evictions. We do have really great relationships with landlords in the area, so that we can vouch for people and get them into a home, and a home that's safe. So we really do try to meet people exactly where they are and provide every service possible. If you don't want to come to shelter and you have a safe space to be in, we will definitely still do the counseling, still do that core advocacy service, still do the housing services if those things are needed. Everything is free and confidential, and it doesn't matter what stage you're in. We have helped people who are immediately fleeing domestic violence, and then we have helped people who might be actually living in a healthy, safe relationship now, but that former trauma, they still need counseling, they still need support for that. So we can help with that as well. And like I said, the services are free. So if they just need the additional therapy, or I know recently we had a client that she called our hotline, and she had said that, like, I don't want to take services away from somebody else because this happened so long ago, but because of COVID and us being at home and not being able to like see our family and friends, she started going into a deep depression because it reminded her of when she was isolated during that abusive time. So, we just want to let everyone know it doesn't matter what stage or when the trauma happened, you still need help. Your mental health is very important. And, with this being prenatal, if you are going through an emotional, stressful time and you're getting ready to become a mother, or you're having another baby, your mental health is so very important. And if you need that help because of previous trauma, please call us. We'll get you the therapy and the help that you need. So I want to open it up for any questions. I know I usually talk really fast, and I apologize for that. But if anyone has any questions or about our services, I don't think I said it, but we've been around for 50 years. So a lot of people may remember us as a woman's place, or a woman's fund, or the Center for Women in Transition. We're both of those agencies combined, and we do help anyone that has suffered from domestic violence, whether it's male, female, no matter what your gender identity is.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think there was one question. To read it, Kate?
Yeah, actually there's two, but they're from the same person. The first was, will you be offering domestic violence training for service providers anytime in the next?
Yeah, so we unfortunately, we are funded by grants, and we lost our funding at the beginning of COVID for a community education trainer. But we have navigated through that, and we'll be opening up trainings this summer. So I would say look to our website around May, and we probably the end of May, and we'll start posting those trainings.
Okay. And then the second question was, is rapid housing available for families in the communities who experience domestic violence or are fleeing it?
Yes. So that all of our services, if you called our hotline and just explained your situation, what the hotline does, a lot of people think that is merely for emergency services, but the hotline actually serves as a kind of a filter or a platform to do that first screening to make sure that we are meeting all the needs of anyone calling for help. So calling that hotline number and explaining the situation, they will put you in contact with our housing coordinator, and she will she'll do her best to see what your needs are, and if you are in need of a home, if you have back bills that need to be fixed first before moving forward, or even budget planning. She's amazing at that. I've actually asked her for advice. So like all of that services, she will be able to help you.
Awesome. This is a great resource, and I'm glad that even through COVID, you guys have been able to, it's been great watching these organizations kind of change and make the services that they offer even available, virtually and all of that. So I'm glad that you guys have been able to offer support like that to families as well.
Yeah, and actually with the COVID situation, we did receive additional funding. So if someone is presenting with symptoms, we're still able to help. So we don't want you to be like, oh, I'm coughing, I'm sick, I can't go stay in a shelter situation. We actually have funding where we can help people get hotel rooms, or if we have to put people in extended stays. So we're still going to provide that help, because the most important thing is your health and your safety. So we're still able to help in whatever way we can.
Great. That's wonderful. We're so thankful for you and you sharing what Courage Connection is doing for the people in our community.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Wendy, we're ready for a prize.
Yes, Rachel, I'm ready too. And the next prize is a gift basket from Sola Salon, and the winner is Kelsey Martin. And just FYI for everyone, we still have like 3 $20 gift card and 1 $50 gift cards ready to give away. So stay tuned, and wait until the end of the event. Thank you.
Awesome, great. Our next presenter is Ellen Solis from Carle Midwifery. She is a nurse midwife at the Carle Health Systems. She has been a midwife for 15 years and worked as a certified doula and labor and delivery nurse before that. As the lead midwife at Carle, Ellen has been instrumental in expanding the reach of the CNMs, growing the practice, and helping to implement the Centering Pregnancy Program in addition to other projects. Ellen has lived in CU for 20 years, and when she's not catching babies, she enjoys reading, knitting, and gardening. So Ellen, we're excited to hear about what's going on at the midwifery program at Carle. I think you're muted.
You think after using online platforms for what, a year now, we would all know to unmute ourselves? But
nope, you forget all the time. Yeah, and you just.
I just want to say thank you to Rachel and hello to everyone. Like Rachel said, my name is Ellen Solis. I am one of 8 of the nurse midwives at Carle, and I'm basically just going to talk a little bit about what midwifery care looks like at Carle, and give you a few facts about what it's like to come to a nurse midwife, and then just be here to answer questions. Nobody needs a lecture from me on a Saturday. So I think Rachel mentioned, so this is my 15th year as a nurse midwife, and I'm the lead of the group, and that has given me the opportunity to be involved in a whole lot of projects. We are currently offering a version of Centering Pregnancy that is online, which I'll talk about a little bit longer. But I probably should sort of describe what a nurse midwife actually is. So a nurse midwife is someone who is a nurse, so has a degree in nursing. It includes an advanced degree, either a master's degree or a doctorate in, and a specialty experience in prenatal care, postpartum care, labor and delivery care, well woman care, and just sort of being there for women. The name midwife means with women, and so that's really the goal of who we are as a profession. So our practice is a very high touch, low tech way of caring for people as they go through the process of becoming parents. We work with the Carle doctors when needed. It's a collaboration model. So that means that the physicians become involved in our clients' care if they become high risk. So we take care of the low risk folks. And that means almost everybody who has a baby is low risk because most of us can have babies without any complications. If there is a complication during pregnancy, birth, or postpartum, we have a practice of 10 doctors that we do work with. Most nurse midwives work in hospitals in the US, though there are many who work in birth centers and also provide home birth services. The Carl nurse midwives are a hospital practice. We work for Carl, although it certainly feels more like we work for our community and for each other. But we don't have a limit on how many clients that we accept into our practice, which is fairly unusual. There's so many of us, and we have lots of different clinics that we can meet our clients. So we never limit how many people can come to us. So anybody is welcome for prenatal care, also for well woman care. And like I said, we take care of low risk people. So our job is to keep people healthy so that they can continue to come to the nurse midwives. So it's part of our model of care is a lot of education and a lot of talking and information exchange between the client and the midwife. Even when an intervention is needed during pregnancy or labor or postpartum, the intervention is still combined with that sort of high touch experience. And at Carl, we're especially dedicated to taking care of diverse populations and in inclusive care. I think I mentioned that we have different clinics that we go to. We have one in the main campus, so at Carl and Urbana, down the street from me. And we also have a clinic in Rantoul, one in Arthur, one in Mattoon, one in Tuscola, one at the Curtis Clinic. We also offer services at the mobile clinic that Carl has, that big giant bus thing that you may have seen around town. And also we provide a different model of prenatal care through centering pregnancy, which I'm going to get to in a second, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about what actually prenatal care looks like, because not everybody kind of has a grasp on the whole picture of prenatal care and what it should look like when somebody presents for care, even in a hospital practice like Carl's. Usually it begins around the first trimester. That usually means we see folks when they're somewhere around 10 to 12 weeks into their pregnancy. And after that intake visit, which tends to be a very long visit that involves maybe an ultrasound, maybe some lab work, lots of talking, lots of sort of figuring out how things are going and what the process is going to look like for the rest of the pregnancy. Then there are monthly visits for most folks through the first and second trimesters. And that means that you see your midwife monthly until about 32 weeks. There is a little bit of variation in there. Your third trimester starts at 28 weeks, but most people are healthy enough that they see us more often starting around 32 weeks. And that isn't, the increase in frequency of visits isn't because people tend to be ill at 32 weeks. It's that we have a lot to talk about. We want to make sure that everybody's still doing well, and we have a lot of preparation for the birth of this little person. And so the visits are typically every 2 weeks from 32 weeks to 36 weeks. And then at 36 weeks, it's weekly. Again, there's a lot to talk about. Things happen, and sometimes you go into labor, and sometimes you don't go into labor. And we have to figure out how to help the pregnant person and her family navigate that. So there is an acceleration of prenatal care as you get closer to the time that we would expect the baby to be born. Ultrasounds are offered throughout pregnancy as indicated. Now that can be in the first trimester. It may be part of the very first visit. It's very common to have a ultrasound somewhere between 18 and 20 weeks. That's the ultrasound where the baby is big enough that you can see all the good stuff. So some people, that's when lots of families find out the baby's gender. Of course, that's a little less important to your midwives than to make sure that you guys are both doing well. So that's usually around 20 weeks. Lots of folks have third trimester ultrasounds or ultrasounds as they are farther into their pregnancy, but that is just sort of the standard care that one would expect. Since COVID hit, the whole hospital system and clinic system has started telehealth. So we offer visits in person to anybody who wants to come in person. And like I said, we have lots of satellite clinics. So if somebody has maybe a transportation problem and lives in Mattoon, or lives in Rantoul and has a hard time getting into Champaign-Urbana, we do have clinics that are a little bit closer to home, but there's lots of folks that even live farther out than that. And it's difficult for them to come every time, or people that just aren't ready to do in-person visits as often as I just described with, starting in your first trimester and every month. So we do offer telehealth, and that would just be a phone call right now with the midwife and the client. And there's no time restriction. It's exactly the same as the in-person visits, except of course, there's no weighing you, taking your blood pressure, or listening to the baby's heartbeat, which is sad to miss, but telehealth is available. I also mentioned something called centering pregnancy, and I know actually Teresa mentioned it too. I sort of glossed over it a few times already, but I wanted to get into the meat of what centering is a little bit. Centering is a national program that is a model of group prenatal care. So I think we think about prenatal care meaning you come into the clinic and you meet your midwife and she listens to the baby's heartbeat and you talk about everything under the sun, and then you go home and maybe your partner or loved one is there with you, maybe a support person, or maybe not, maybe it's just you. Centering pregnancy is a little different in that it is a model of, like I said, group care. So there are usually somewhere between 10 and 15 people that are around the same time in their pregnancy. So, around the same gestational age. And that can be, the group usually starts when everybody's somewhere around 16 weeks pregnant, and it goes all the way through pregnancy. So you stay with your group, and it is a really interactive way of getting information to everybody, because the clients and the pregnant people are the experts on their pregnancy. They know best what's going on with them. And the midwife or the provider is there to be a resource and to help get the information out, but it's very, very interactive. There is actually separate one-on-one time with the provider. We call it belly time, which we sort of meet in the corner of the room with a couch. And we listen to baby's heartbeat. The clients actually take their own blood pressure and they weigh themselves, but the provider would write down those things in the medical chart. And then we listen to the baby's heartbeat and we talk about anything that maybe the client wouldn't want to bring to the group. So it's a little bit more of a private conversation. But I'll be honest with you, almost everybody who has a question at a particular time of their pregnancy, their group, the group has the same question, so it's nice to be able to bring that to the whole cohort and talk about, back pain, and, heartburn, and what do you do for it and what helps? And, I'm still nauseous and I'm 16 weeks. Isn't that supposed to be gone by now? So everybody has a chance to talk. And almost always it's a group discussion. We do have what we call a curriculum with centering, and Teresa can attest. And also, I think Rachel has been there for some of our discussions. The curriculum goes right out the window because everybody has something to say. And I just sort of go, all right, well, let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. So that was centering. It was really popular, really fun, and completely destroyed by COVID because obviously we couldn't get together anymore. We can't get together in a group of 10 pregnant people and their 10 partners because that's 20 people in a room. So unfortunately, we had to stop. We've been trying to figure out a way to do, to reach folks through a virtual centering for the past year. And we finally have figured out a way to meet via Zoom. So we're offering what we're calling virtual centering, which is probably not as fun because it's nothing as much fun as getting together in person, but it'll be a platform similar to this where the clients are there and their support people are there and we'll have topics that we can discuss. The way that we're making up for the fact that it can't be quite as interactive because we're not like playing games together. I don't know how to do that on Zoom. So we're going to have a lot of guest speakers. A lot of folks are going to come from the community to share their expertise with the group. And it's going to be really fun. I can personally say that I've bothered multiple people in this group to come and be our experts and talk about what they specialize in and help our clients understand them. The general transitions doulas are going to come talk about birth or labor support. Teresa's going to come talk about breastfeeding. We're going to have a pediatrician that comes and talks about the baby and baby care. We'll have a mental health professional come and talk about mood adjustments during pregnancy and after you have a baby, a physical therapist. And of course, there will be a midwife there as an expert. And that midwife is going to be me most of the time, although I do have some vacation coming up, so my colleagues are going to substitute. Anyway, this is a shameless plug for virtual centering because anybody can participate. Doesn't matter your gestational age, doesn't matter if you're 32 weeks pregnant or 12 weeks pregnant, doesn't matter if you see the Carl midwives or you see Francis Nelson or you see the Carl doctors. You're welcome. Everybody's welcome to come. There's no restrictions whatsoever. And we're going to meet every 2 weeks. Starting April 26th, which is a Monday at the very end of this month. If you want more information about that, please reach out to me. I can provide my office number and my secretary can get the information to you. Of course, it's got to be a secure Zoom link because we want it to be as safe for everybody as possible. But my office is available for that. And that is what prenatal care looks like. It's pretty much the standard across the whole United States, but sometimes it's a little different when you see a midwife. It's a little bit more time spent chatting and making sure everything is going well. And of course, nurse midwives also provide birth care. We do a lot of labor support. We're there to help the clients decide what they want and need to help them get through their birth experience. We also do postpartum care, and we see folks after the baby's born, and we offer well woman care. And that includes birth control, pap smears, STI screenings, medication management, helping you connect to the community if you need it. Breast exams, referrals to any kind of specialist that you might need, sexual health screenings, gender affirming care. So we got a lot going on in the Carl midwifery practice.
As somebody who has been one of your patients, I can definitely say that, I have really appreciated the kind of care that you guys offer and the support. And, it just makes the experience so much more enjoyable when you have a provider, like you said, that allows the birthing person to kind of be in charge of their care, and you guys are the expert that is there to provide some of that additional support or research or information, to keep everybody safe and healthy.
I like to say that it's our job is to guide you through the process safely and to make sure that you come through the experience as positively as you can. And I saw that Megan put up the Carl midwifery office number. That's really helpful. Thank you. Rather than having me read it out loud. So it's there if you need it. And can I answer any questions for anybody?
Yeah, we had a few questions. The first one is, can you talk a little bit more about the inclusive approach to care, and do all the nurse midwives do that?
Absolutely. So there are 8 of us. Like I said, actually there are 9 if you count the midwife that works with us as on an as needed basis. So it's a lot of personalities. It's a pretty big group, but we practice together because we're all committed to providing the same kind of care. So it is absolutely, it absolutely means that we're all comfortable providing as inclusive care as possible and finding resources if it's not something that we can handle within our scope of practice. If somebody needs help making connections with others in the community. The thing about working in a big hospital system like Carl is we do have a lot of ways of sort of reaching out to getting tendrils out into the community and finding the best options for folks.
Okay, and that kind of leads into the second question, was it about how do you protect moms who are in vulnerable situations, like experiencing depression during pregnancy, or they don't have a supportive partner?
Well, one of the reasons that we have protected time, meaning I guess the typical prenatal visit is probably about 5 minutes nationwide. Your midwives have 20 minutes, 40 minutes, or hour visits, depending on what the client needs. So there are folks that we see for a full hour. We just reserve time to be there for them when they need us. So we have connections with natal mental health services, including emergency care, when if somebody truly needs to be seen immediately. And we are committed to being there for that person. So for mental health issues, none of us went to midwifery school to become mental health professionals, but probably a good third of our practice is helping folks navigate what they need, helping them figure out what's actually going on with them and figuring out what resources are available. And that is everything from providing counseling, finding a counselor for them, to prescribing medications.
And our last question was, do you do VBACs?
Absolutely. We have a very successful VBAC rate. We have the nurse midwifery practice has the most successful VBAC rate at Carle. Oh, I wish I had the statistics. I don't know what they are.
A few years ago, I remember Christy saying they were like 80 something.
It's definitely with it. Yeah, definitely.
It's a very good place to have the best possible chance for a baby.
Carle itself is pretty VBAC positive, and the midwives are sort of like your little protective shield around any kind of negativity about a VBAC. So we definitely do VBACs in consultation with the physicians for one visit, and then the rest of the care is just with the nurse midwives, including birth care.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ellen, so much for all the care that you are providing to the families in our area. And I'm extremely thankful to have the Carle Midwifery Program.
You're welcome. And if anybody's interested in virtual centering, please call us. It's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Okay, Wendy, are we ready we're going to do 2 prizes now.
That's right, Rachel. So we have 2 winners for this round. So the first one is the 3 sets of Carter Street nails that goes to Cindy Marie. And the second one is Original Pancake House. It's a $20 gift card that goes to Angie Arnold. Congratulations.
Awesome. Yay. And we're going to wrap up our last presenter here with Zakia Williams. And I think she has somebody else with her. Tisha, is that right? Sorry. Mm-hmm. I don't have your name written down. With Children's Home and Health Aid. They offer voluntary and free doula and home visiting services within the Healthy Families program. They're currently serving Champaign, Ford, and Vermilion County. The program is a prevention-based service aimed at assisting in attachment and bonding to prevent child abuse and neglect. So we're excited that you guys are here to share more information about what you're doing to help the families in our area.
Yes, thank you for having us. I'm Zakia Williams. I am one of 4 doulas at Children's Home and Aid in Champaign. As she said, we service Champaign, Ford, Vermilion, in Piatt counties. For those who don't know what a doula is a person who is professionally trained to provide emotional, physical, and educational support to people who are looking forward to having a baby and also their families. So with our Healthy Families program, we are actually the only doula program in Champaign County that is free and voluntary. And we can take any age, first-time parents, and then 18 and younger for subsequent pregnancies. So we have a wide range of people that we can serve. With our Healthy Families program, we have our model pretty much goes based on how, where you are in your pregnancy. So we can accept clients as early as, I've had clients as early as like 13 weeks pregnant. And I've had someone literally that I met one time, 39 weeks, and then the next time I saw her, she was having a baby. So we can get you in pretty much any time. And during that time that you're meeting with us, it's either a bi-weekly or weekly basis, depending on where you are in your pregnancy. So kind of think of it how you attend your doctor's appointments. So, pretty earlier in your pregnancy, you're going every 2 weeks. And then, your 3rd trimester leading up to your birth, you're going every week. So we meet with our clients. Right now, we're doing mostly virtual, but we are moving to in-person. So we meet weekly, And during that time, we just educate our parents and their families on what to expect during their pregnancy, answering any questions within, our scope of practice, because doulas are not doctors. We're not midwives. We cannot perform any medical procedures or give any medical advice. But we can answer questions. So if someone has a question like, hey, this happened, is this normal? Or, should this be happening? We can do that. Answering questions, telling you what to expect, what to look forward to, educating the families on the developmental stages that the baby is going through in utero. And then also educating them and preparing them to actually go, when they're going into labor and to go to the hospital or wherever to give birth. So because of COVID, we right now, I think OSF just lifted their visitor restrictions. I think they're allowing two support people. But I think right now, Carl is still the same with just one person. But before COVID, we were going to the hospital to support our families while they are in labor and giving birth, and then saying after they give birth, so if they, decide they want to breastfeed, we offer breastfeeding support as well. And then with our program also, once the family's baby is born, we work with that family 6 to 8 weeks postpartum. So that's in that time frame, we're helping with breastfeeding. We're doing newborn education. We're doing safety education and a host of other things. I think I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting something, but we also have a home visiting program, and Tisha can talk more about that.
Hi, my name is Tish Jackson, and I am the Healthy Families Coordinator at Children's Home and Aid. I work as a doula and a home visitor. The home visiting program, we start working with the families prenatally as well. We work along with our doulas if that's the route that they want to go. However, if they do not want a doula, our home visitors can continue to serve the family prenatally up until the child is 5 years old. Our home visitors meet with the families on a weekly basis, and then the situation can change in which sometimes the families begin to go bi-weekly. As a home visitor, we also are one of 9 home visiting programs here in Champaign County. The 9 programs together form what's called the Champaign County Consortium. So if a participant or a family does not meet our criteria, then we would recommend them and send a referral over to one of the other home visiting providers in the community. We do offer prenatal and parenting support groups. Our support groups are meet on the first Tuesday and Wednesday of every month. That's for our parenting classes. And then our prenatal classes meets on the first and third Thursday of every month. You can follow us on Facebook to learn more about our prenatal and parenting classes. We always post the links and information on there. They're open to the public as well as our participants and families. Is there any questions? Sorry, I know I probably talked pretty fast.
I did want to add, Tish, you didn't mention that we are having some grab and goes coming up in each county that we serve. So you can also follow our Facebook to get more information about those. So basically people can drive up and we'll just giving you a big bag of goodies. So diapers, wipes, blankets, etc. And then we are also hosting a raffle basket at different locations in the counties that we serve. Again, you can also follow our Facebook for that information. Pretty simple, just go in, write your name down, your information, phone number, put it in the Dropbox, and then we come collect it, and then we are going to raffle off big welcome baby baskets for expecting parents.
Awesome. That's great. You guys serve a really awesome, part of the community to making sure that everybody's feeling supported and they have, the resources available to them to have a great birth experience and postpartum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
I just wanted to also say, sorry, that we have nurturing parenting classes that we're offering. There is a class starting on April 15th. You can also follow that on our Facebook page. Personal contact for that program is Jenna.
Great. Yeah, we'll make sure to link your Facebook page in the comments so people can find it easily.
I want to know, are they located locally?
Yes, we do. Our office is located in Champaign. We are on Interstate Drive, 1501 Interstate Drive in Champaign. It's close to the Champaign Walmart. Yes, we do have a Champaign office.
Awesome. Great.
And you serve Champaign County?
Yes.
Yes, we serve Champaign, Fort Vermilion, and Piatt County.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, Wendy, I think we have a couple more prizes to give away.
That's correct, Rachel. So thank you first for everyone like staying with us until now. So we now have a $20 gift cards to give away. It's from Original Pancake House, and the winner is Carly Kwan. And the second, we have a Jet's Pizza $20 gift card certificate, and the winner is Michael Healy. And last but not least, we have a $50 gift card, which is from Nail Street Blues. And the winner goes to Reem Muhammad. Congratulations, everybody.
Awesome. That's great. So I just want to take a minute to say thank you to all of our presenters for sharing their time and expertise and about how they are supporting families in our community right now. We all need a little extra support right now, and that's not going to go away anytime soon, I don't think. And thank you to all of our board members for facilitating those discussions on Facebook and YouTube, and to the companies who donated all of our awesome prizes. They deserve a round of applause also. So I'm just super appreciative for everybody for joining us on this Saturday morning.
Can I just say thank you again to everyone who took the time out to spend your Saturday with us. There's another free conference in 2 weeks if you can join. It's online. It's a rural perinatal mental health conference. And you know, all of us in Champaign County, it's not too hard to find rural folks. We're surrounded by rural land, and we know rural issues of trying to get care, trying to find a therapist, or getting to see a provider are even more complicated when you live a bit farther out. Thank you again for attending. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Please check out our webpage, Perinatal Connect. Learn more about depression research in our community and resources for families in our community. Thank you so much, everyone.